Hey, this is Daniel Smolenski with Market Boost. I'm here with Ryan. He is the CEO of a leading natural products brand that sells topical treatments, and he has been with them, or the CEO of them, for 20 years. Thanks for joining, Ryan.
Hey, great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Yeah, and we've been working with this brand since September of last year, of 2022. So, Ryan, just to start off, can you just tell us a little bit more about your brand?
Yeah, sure. So I'm the owner of the company. It's a family business. We've been in business since 2001. So a very long history. We sell some pretty niche products that are typically difficult to market, on social channels. But most of our traffic's been driven by search for many, many years. And we do dominate in that area, and we have a number of products, and again, a long-standing history, since 2001. So we've been in business a long time.
Oh, perfect. And real brief, could you just talk a little bit how the brand was started?
Yeah, sure. It was started really. It's kind of one of those stories. Really, we used to pretty much make the products in our kitchen. Back then, from a compliance point of view and regulatory point of view, it was really pretty easy, and we started with just a handful of products. And as we grew, the industry changed, and we had to pivot many times. And now we're a very big brand. We manufacture according to all sorts of regulatory loopholes, and we're registered with the FDA, and we've become a pretty big operation with a lot of different products, and things have changed a lot over the years, and now, thanks to you guys, we're seeing a massive increase, from a social advertising point of view, which is just fantastic. It's the biggest growth I've seen in the business ever, from a percentage point of view.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for covering that. Now, obviously, CEOs can wear many hats. What would you say is your role day to day?
It's really a delegation thing. The most important, departments, I like to be very hands-on. So, from a search advertising point of view, I'm pretty hands-on. But we have, we have departments managing all of those things, including search. And my brother is also heavily involved, and he does, more of the operational running of the business, and I am kind of handling, marketing. And then we have a pretty big team. So, we have multiple customer support people. We have a very large fulfillment center. We have, all sorts of departments for marketing. And so my day to day is really, meetings with all these departments and sort of delegating and handling all of these things. And, areas that require, or at least areas that bring the most amount of value, I like to be a little bit more hands-on. And so, as you know, as we've grown with social, from social being, maybe 5 to 10% of our revenue to a very large percentage of our revenue, I've, wanted to be more hands-on, as you know, and really understand exactly how all these visitors are being driven and how we can improve.
Right. Now, you've been in business since 2001. You're a veteran of the brand space. E-commerce really survived a lot of different time periods. So where were you guys in 2022, I guess, when we started working together? Where were you guys at with regards to the brand?
So as a result of sort of regulatory issues, our brand took a major hit around 2012 to 14. And we almost lost the business at that period of time. And we'd been growing steadily until then. Since then, we've grown year over year, every single year, at a very steady pace. Nice, easy, steady pace allowed us to organically grow. Never had to take any, outside investment or anything like that. Where we were in 2022 was still attempting to plug away at Facebook and Instagram and all these other social channels where we've basically failed in the past. Most of that traffic has really just been retargeting traffic. And, the first touch point has always been search-based. Really most of our traffic coming from Google. And so we were just kind of picking up scraps. Maybe we had a little bit of new acquisition coming in, but it was really not a significant amount, and not a channel large enough for me at least to put a lot of my effort in. Again, we were talking maybe 5-10% of our overall revenue.
Right. And I know you guys have been around for a while. In terms of your revenues, last year, I think you guys did, was it around 8 million? Is that?
I would have to check, but that sounds close enough, yeah.
Rough around, yeah, around.
Yeah.
Say, high single digits. Was your revenue, let's say for the preceding 5 years, was it around the same? What was the growth like there?
No, we were seeing around probably around 20% growth a year. So we've been growing pretty steadily, and COVID was, we had a lot of growth after COVID. I think a lot of e-commerce brands did.
Right.
And so that was probably the biggest boost up until you guys came along. But we've been seeing pretty steady growth.
Right. Now, let's just talk a little bit about working with us. How would you describe the transformation? You can go into as in depth as you'd like.
Sure. So what we didn't realize is that even though our products are really niche, as a result of the way Facebook is structured these days and the way and how advanced the AI is, we actually have and had a massive opportunity to sell these niche products because Facebook could now find the audience. Now execution is obviously super important, and we had who we thought was a very, very high-end person managing our social. We were with a very large agency. We were still doing decent revenue, and so we sort of had enough clout to get their top director managing our account, and then that person left, and we left with her basically. I had the blessing of the agency, and she ran the account, and from my mind was doing very well. I guess I had no idea how much better we could be doing. We were suddenly generating a little bit of revenue from new acquisition, but we were not putting together the ads and the creative that were even close to what we needed to be doing. There were more branded plays, generalized, ads mentioning the type of company and type of products that a person could potentially use. Where we were lacking was creative, understanding the psychology of the customer, realizing what types of products we could actually market, and then the execution, how those were structured from an account level. All of that was just lacking very badly. And I now look back and in hindsight realize that it was poorly managed. And that was not the first person to manage the account. We had a lot of people. And a lot of people tried and really failed. They were able to generate revenue through retargeting, but we were doing all the work for them. The customer was already there. So showing them a product feed as a retarget, there was no value being brought there. I could have done that myself. And so this was the massive, shift and change, when you guys came on.
Cool. And let's dive a little bit into the results since working together.
Yeah.
We could keep it Facebook or social specific.
Sure.
Just some of these figures, I think, just comparing time periods of January 2022 to August 2022, Facebook spend I have here was 127K. And revenue was generated, of course, tracking and reporting is a little bit off, but around 180K, right?
Yeah, I mean, the ROAS wasn't great, you know, and from a percentage point of view, it was a small percentage of what we're doing. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Google is sort of your bread and butter in terms of ad spend, right? So
Always been our bread and butter in terms of revenue. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You know, again, they're niche products. People are going out searching for them. And so we make sure that we are dominating those search positions, you know, across the board in not just Google, but all search platforms. So, yeah, I mean, that was, I would say in 22, I don't know, there was such a small percentage of new acquisition in that 180 grand figure. Most of that was just retargeting.
right. And so what are the figures like for this year?
So for this year, we've spent a lot more. So we went from spending like 120 to 700, I think, up till now. And now we're looking at it like 1.5 million in revenue up to now. And there's been a tremendous acceleration just in the last, you know, month or two. And that's where suddenly we just blew up. Now, you guys immediately brought value, and at the time we were like, wow, this is huge. And we started selling products that we had never really sold at that volume before. And that, you know, suddenly we had inventory issues for products we never expected to have inventory issues for, which, you know, good problems to have, but, you know, we scrambled to get inventory. And then, you know, the recent figures are really the most impressive. You want me to go into those?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so in last year, July, we spent about 15, 16 grand and revenue was 24,000 or so. So we're looking at a similar, you know, ROAS to the full year in 22. But that's, you know, July is a stronger month for us. Summer months are generally better for our business. We're not really cyclical, but seasonally that is a stronger month for us. So we spent 16 and made 24. This July.
Sorry to interrupt. Sorry. That percentage is what, like 5% of your revenue, or?
Yeah, maybe a little more. Yeah. I'd have to go back and look. Somewhere 5 to 10% is around what we were doing. I think, in 22, probably more closer to 5%. Yeah. And then this year, July it just blew up. It just went ridiculous. So from spending 16,000, we spent 200,000 this year, July, and we did over 530,000 in revenue. So suddenly we're dealing with like phenomenal ROASs, at least, you know, relative to what it was before. And massive amounts of revenue. I mean, that's just off the charts, you know, for what we've seen for many, many years. I mean, we've been doing Facebook since it began. I mean, as a matter of fact, we were advertising pre-Google. So, like, you know, whatever comes along, we're doing it. And so, yeah, that's just phenomenal. I mean, I couldn't be happier. And now it's, you know, a game of trying to keep these things in inventory, which is just constantly scrambling because, you know, sales have exploded, you know, at such a high rate, and looking now to where else can we scale? What other products can we, you know, start hitting hard? And this, you know, really came from just one or two products, one product in particular, and we have like 40 products. So the potential now to scale this is in a realm that I never thought possible. You know, we had really hit almost a saturation point in our company. Not a saturation point, but, you know, as general e-commerce grows and the economy grows and things like that, sure, we're gonna increase. But we'd really sort of saturated all the areas, you know, from a search point of view. What I didn't realize is that we just hadn't even scratched the surface, you know, from a social marketing point of view. And so that's where we're at now. It's super exciting and just growing like exponentially now.
Right. Yeah. No, thanks for the overview. And talking about sort of intangibles, how would you describe the sort of experience of working with us? Just the overall. So for me, it has been a little bit more difficult because you guys are handling everything, right? So
for a company that is looking to be really hands-off and just allow you guys to just run with it, I know I can trust you guys. That's not the issue whatsoever. You guys perform, time and time again, and you have a lot of experience and a lot of very wise moves that are made. For me, as a perfectionist and a type A type guy, that's been a little bit more difficult, and so I've tried to assert myself a little bit more into the process. And mostly, I would say you guys are winning as far as if there's a disagreement in a budget move or a creative move, because of your experience, and once there's an explanation, it makes sense. So I think someone who's looking to have a hands-off approach and just have everything managed, and to be able to trust that you guys know what you're doing, and depending on how the structure is, for us, there's an incentive-based structure, and so you have the same motivations that I have.
Right.
You don't want to spend too much money, and if the ROAS isn't there, it's impacting you as much as it's impacting us, and so. As a result of that structure, I know I can trust you guys to make the right decisions, and that was the most difficult part for me. But I think that's probably the biggest positive for anybody else looking to use you guys is the hands-off approach. But if people want to be involved like I have been, then you've made that pretty accommodating.
Right. Yeah, I appreciate the candidness with that. There's always challenges with it. So obviously this is a little difficult to answer, but hindsight is 2020. But if you could sort of talk about why you decided to work with us. I know we had a little bit of an interesting start, and sort of what you thought was different about us.
So, I mean, you hit me with a cold call email, as far as I remember, and I never answer those. Like, I get like 3 a day. Do you know how many people are promising me the world on TikTok and this channel and that channel? And I mean, even people saying that I don't have to pay them unless there's results. For some bizarre reason, I responded to that. And at the time, we had what I thought was a very capable manager who had left a very large agency, who she was the director of all of their social marketing, and I thought we really had someone that was a gem. And so what we did is I'm a very ethical person, and the last thing I was going to do is just get rid of her because she had performed. So we gave you guys an opportunity to prove yourself, and I let her know that you're coming on board, and we ran with you and her for a period of time, and the goal was actually to have both of you on board. It was going to cost me more, but I figured if there was value and you guys could sort of collaborate together, that potentially we could just have 2 teams, and you could handle things that she was lacking in, and vice versa. And very soon it became apparent that you were just kicking her ass. And so there was no need to keep her on. And so it was a difficult situation because I, had a personal relationship with her, but business is business. And so we came up with an arrangement, and I made sure that she was taken care of, and we transitioned to using you guys exclusively, and that's where we're at.
Yeah. And if you could say one thing that we do differently than her, that her approach, obviously you don't have to talk specifically about her.
No, I mean, I can say, without a question, is you are, there's media buyers, and then there's people who are analyzing from a bigger picture. And that's what you guys did. And you're looking at the psychology of the customer, and your market research into what drives that customer to buy, and who can we target, and what can we tell them, and what message is going to work. And you may not have got that right the first time, although you beat her ad straight away, but then constantly testing and constantly trying different approaches, from UGC video to static ads to this message and that message and all sorts of different, techniques to try and get an ad to work. And that continues to this day. I mean, we're launching new ads, all the time. I mean, every couple of days. And if they don't perform, you're killing them like quickly. Right. Like sometimes for me, I'm like, wow, why'd you guys kill that ad? I thought it was doing well. And we're like, nope, it looked like it was, but we weren't getting a good click-through rate and it wasn't getting spent, time to move on. And, making those quick decisions, those are difficult to make. And, now I can see based on your experience, those were the correct decisions because some of them I wouldn't have made. I would have kept an ad running longer, but I could see, in hindsight that those were the good decisions to make. You can figure out pretty quickly. And if you have enough experience, if something's going to work or it's not. And then the ones that worked, I mean, they just, we went viral with them, and these are ads that really, really touched on the psychology of the customer and stuff that I would not have thought of. And now we found these really good little niches, and now we're just replicating that. So I guess your original question was one thing you did differently. Yeah, I mean, it's really just an overall strategy. It's difficult to find someone who thinks like a business owner rather than like a media buyer, and so I guess it's just so hard to find people that are using a marketing brain to craft a strategy, and that's what you guys have done. So yeah, I mean, it's I guess that would be the one thing, I suppose.
Cool. And what would you say to someone, another brand owner, chief marketing officer, director of marketing, that's maybe on the fence working with us? Because there's 1,000 options they have out there. So
yeah, I mean, you don't have anything to lose, so you may as well give it a try. I think you guys can prove yourselves pretty quickly, and I think just a high level discussion with you alone was enough for me to say, okay, this guy definitely knows what he's talking about and has there's a lot of potential here. Let's give it a go. So, I mean, you're only gonna, you're definitely gonna fail at the stuff you don't try. So, you don't have anything to lose. I mean, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But you guys definitely know what you're doing, and I can't imagine, someone giving it a go would be disappointed.
Right. And then just last question. They're going to be, on the fence. Why do you think they should act now versus later? Like pull the trigger now versus, let's say, 6 months?
Yeah. I mean, you're just going to lose a lot of revenue. I mean, if you look at those figures again, I mean, just to reiterate, we did 24 grand in July last year, and we did 530 this year. Like imagine, now like extrapolate that out. If I wait 6 months, I mean, I would have lost millions of dollars. So,
yeah, that's.
I mean, it's a no-brainer from that point of view.
Okay, great. Look, Ryan. Obviously, we've been together for a year. I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're super busy, and this is probably the least of your priorities right now. But I really appreciate it again, and thanks for hopping on the call.
No problem. I mean, you deserve it, and I'm more than happy to do it. Super stoked with what the value you've brought, and so hopefully this helps somebody else make that decision.
Okay. All right. Cheers.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Thank you.